Hello and welcome to the beautiful Bailey Center Auditorium on the campus of Wallace State Community College in Hanceville. Thank you to our gracious host, Wallace State Community College, and to Dr. Vicki Karlowicz for helping make this event possible. The 2026 Tribune Debate Series continues tonight with a race for Cullman County Sheriff featuring candidates Tim Creel and Chad Whaley. These events are designed to give the public unfiltered answers, direct comparisons, and meaningful conversation. Candidates do not receive the questions ahead of time. The goal is simple: give voters a better understanding of who is prepared, who understands the office, and who can explain how they would serve the people of Cullman County. The Sheriff's Office is one of the most visible and important offices in county government. The Sheriff is responsible for law enforcement operations, jail oversight, patrol, investigations, courthouse security, school resource officers, public safety partnership, personnel decisions, training, budgeting, and public trust. This race is about more than campaign signs, endorsements, or political talking points. It is about who understands the responsibility of leading a law enforcement agency, managing a jail, protecting constitutional rights, supporting deputies, and serving the public with fairness, professionalism, and accountability. With all that being said, let's go to it. Now for the rules. The rules for the candidates are as followed. No electronic devices are permitted on stage. Questions will alternate, so no one candidate answers first or last more than the other. Opening statements are limited to 60 seconds and may be prepared. Time allotted per question will be up to 3 minutes. Closing statements are limited to 90 seconds and must be spoken without notes. Each candidate is allowed one rebuttal per question, but only if one candidate directly names or calls out the other. Rebuttals are limited to 45 seconds. Facts only, no accusations without proof. If an unsupported accusation is made, additional response time may be given to the opposing candidate. Voters deserve substance over slogan. Talking points will not be enough. Each candidate will now be given 60 seconds for an opening statement. We will begin with Tim Creel.
Thank you, Noah, for having us in this packed house, I'm messing with you. It's okay. I've spent most of my adult life in law enforcement. This is just the next step. Cullman County needs and deserves the continuation of the historical greatness that it's been over the past few years, and several years actually. When I first started in '87 here as a reserve, I looked up to those people that I worked with, and they were role models to me. And it was a certain culture that you worked in. You were ready to go back to work the next day. When you get off work, you would clean your car, you would fix your uniform, you get it ready to go to work when you went back. I drove an old Crown Vic that had 300,000 miles on it with oil in the trunk and tools back there because, hey, but I was proud of it. It was my car. I'm not saying that we don't have that culture here now, but I will continue that culture, and I want to restore some of that old culture to the Sheriff's Office. The retention, clicking, you're clicking me?
Yeah, sorry.
To be continued.
Mr. Whaley, your opening statement, sir.
Thank you, Noah, for having this. I think it's great to get to come out anytime we can address the public, especially this close to the election. For the last 27 years, I've served the citizens of Cullman County right here at the Cullman County Sheriff's Office. I've served in almost every facet, from the jail to patrol, SWAT team, defensive tactics, a school resource officer, and part of the command staff for the last 6 years. My goal is to keep Cullman County special. And what that means is a collaboration between a sheriff's office that, in my opinion, is the best in the state, along with the citizens of Cullman County, which is what truly makes Cullman County special. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. And Chad, we'll stay with you for this first question. The Sheriff's Office is responsible for patrol, investigation, jail operations, school resource officers, personnel, and public trust. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities in the first 100 days, and how would residents be able to measure whether progress is being made?
For me, and part of this goes back to obviously my career leading up to this point. Our children are always going to be the most valuable part of society, and it's the most important thing when it comes to safety. So we've got to ensure that they are safe first and foremost. So there will be a lot of attention placed on the school resource officer program. Number one, it is a must that we protect them the best way we can, and that will be including to add resource officers to the high schools. Currently we have 2 resource officers at 3 schools. That leaves 4 high school campuses that we need additional resource officers. So we're going to do everything we can to add those. The next thing is going to be training, and this goes hand in hand not only with the schools but across the board. In order for the sheriff's office to be the best that it possibly can be, every deputy needs to be the best they can be. And the way that that works is each individual needs to be better, and that's done and accomplished through training. Lastly, I would like to establish a warrant division, and this will be multifaceted. It will allow us to target certain high crime areas. It'll also allow us to bring justice to the victims that are out there that are waiting on their offenders to be arrested. And this warrant division will allow us to focus on that, to get these criminals off the street, because oftentimes the ones that have warrants on them, they're still out there. Well, guess what they're doing? They're committing new crimes. So it allows us to do multiple things by having this warrant division. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. Mr. Creel, same question. The sheriff's office is responsible for patrol, investigations, jail operations, school resource officers, personnel, and public trust. If elected, what would be your top 3 priorities in the first 100 days, and how would residents be able to measure whether progress is being made?
So immediately reform and reestablish a narcotics enforcement unit. That causes all the property crimes. It's known. I've worked in a couple agencies, and in every one of them, I see it. If you don't have an active, aggressive narcotics unit, your property crimes are going to be higher. That's just the way it is. The next thing is we're going to reform an Internet Crimes Against Children task force. Maybe only a couple of people. And the pushback on that has been out in the public. Some of the pushback has been, well, if you put somebody in that task force, they got to work all over the state. That's not the case. They can stay in Cullman County and concentrate on Cullman County. If we have the money to put additional school resource officers in the schools, I think they need to be on patrol. I think we need to add them to patrol, because that's where currently the issue is. If you do a threat assessment right now, do your burglaries and thefts and your sex crimes and the other stuff, does it happen in the schools or does it happen in the public? Patrol is short. We need more patrol guys. If we get the budget for those and extra school guys, great. As far as a warrant division, everywhere I've ever worked serves warrants. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but why are we not serving warrants already? I serve warrants every day, just about. I mean, I help our patrol guys serve them. So you can serve warrants. That's it.
All right. Thank you, sir, for your response, and we'll stay with you for this next question. Cullman County includes rural communities, municipalities, and fast-growing areas with different public safety needs. How would you evaluate patrol coverage, response times, and deputy visibility across the county, and what would you change if some areas are underserved?
My turn?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you got to know where you're at before you know where you're going. So it's imperative that you do statistical analysis on clearance rates. You got to look at call times. You got to look at response times and all that stuff. There's historical data on the CAD and the operating system. I think Cullman currently uses Spillman. You can do crime projections and do a sliding scale, and I'm working on something like that. Instead of a 4 to 4 shift, you may have deputies come in at 5 or 6 or 7 even. That way, during your peak call time hours, you can maximize your patrol coverage. He's not listening. This is for y'all anyways, I think. Right, Noah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got a security problem?
No, we're good.
No, okay.
All right. Chad? Cullman County includes rural communities, municipalities, and fast-growing areas with different public safety needs. How would you evaluate patrol coverage, response times, and deputy visibility across the county, and what would you change if some areas are underserved?
One of the things that I think we have done that's benefited in that area is the collaboration, once again, that we have with the community. We have our township deputies. Currently we have Dodge City and Good Hope, where we have worked with the town to include more deputies on patrol to those specific areas, which allows us to have more guys on patrol. It aids with call time, call response time, and then obviously it's a constant evaluation. And the sheriff has done a good job, and we hope to continue that, of communicating with the community while looking at those stats, looking at the call times, and if there are areas that need to be shifted, then we can focus those, excuse me, you can focus those utilizing the guys that are already on patrol. And you can utilize the guys during the summertime, for example. We have a higher rate of crime around the lake area because the population grows so much. So what we're able to do at that point is utilize our school resource officers and have them, since school is out, work those areas as the summer months hit and they are no longer in school during that time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. Mr. Whaley, we'll stay with you for this next question. Staffing, retention, and morale affect every part of the sheriff's office, from patrol and investigations to detention and school safety. What specific steps would you take to recruit qualified employees, keep experienced staff, and improve training without creating unrealistic budget demands?
For the last 6 years, I've been part of the hiring team and sat in on multiple interviews and part of the hiring process. And that's one of the things that nationwide law enforcement is battling, as far as hiring good personnel and then obviously keeping good personnel. And I think the key going forward, it's the little things. And what I mean by that, you have good quality supervisors that know that their role is to motivate, is to have guys be proud of the job that they're doing. And by doing that, you're able to establish people's morale from a level of, it's just not a paycheck. It's more important. It's part of the community. It's wanting to be at the sheriff's office, wanting to wear that badge, wanting to serve the citizens. And it starts with leadership. If you have good leaders at the top, you have good supervisors on the shift, good supervisors in the jail, they're the ones that are maintaining that morale. They're the ones that are making sure that the guy's mental health is where it should be. If they're having issues at work, they recognize it because they have those relationships, and we stay on top of it, and we're able to do those things, again, to get quality personnel and then to keep quality personnel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Creel, same question. Staffing, retention, and morale affect every part of the sheriff's office, from patrol and investigations to detention and school safety. What specific steps would you take to recruit qualified employees, keep experienced staff, and improve training without creating unrealistic budget demands?
First of all, you have to lead from the front. If you're not willing to do the task you're asking your people to do, then don't ask them to do it. And if you haven't done those tasks, don't ask them to do it because you're not familiar with that, or if you're not willing to do it. You have to lead from the front. You have to provide a culture of professional development. When you do that, and you also have to, it has to be a career, like he said, not just a job, it has to be a career. You have to maintain your experience in those positions. When people start looking around to leave, you gotta find out why. You gotta find out what's wrong with that culture. Why are they wanting to leave? When you have a high turnover rate, there's usually a core problem. But the only way to know that is do a climate survey. I think that's very important, departmental-wide. Every so often you do a climate survey, and that's an anonymous way for people to express Sometimes it's trivial stuff, but if all of it's just pointing in the same direction, you need to address those issues.
Thank you, sir. And we'll stay with you for this next question. The sheriff leads sworn deputies, investigators, detention officers, school resource officers, and administrative staff. What would your command structure look like, and how would you make sure supervisors are held accountable for the performance and conduct of the people under them?
Command structure, how it looks, you got the sheriff and the chief, and then you got the command staff. Now, I'm a firm believer that the command staff could operate with less people. I'm not saying if I get elected, I'm going to remove people from those positions, but as attrition happens, the top heaviness can go away somewhat and trim the fat, so to speak. The more fat you trim at the top of those positions, the more money you can pay these guys in the middle and at the bottom. That helps with the retention and recruiting. What was the other part of it?
What would your command structure look like, and how would you make sure supervisors are held accountable for the performance and conduct of the people under them?
So I'm also a firm believer that supervisors, like FTOs, shouldn't be a 2 or 3 year thing, and then you say, okay, you want to be an FTO? FTO needs to be subject matter expert in their field. I would say 5 years. I would say 6 or 7 as an entry level, like a patrol sergeant. And when you get a department or an agency that has that building blocks of that experience, you'll see operational effectiveness go up, and you'll see recruiting and retention go up, and you'll see attrition go down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that response. Mr. Whaley, same question. The sheriff leads sworn deputies, investigators, detention officers, school resource officers, and administrative staff. What would your command structure look like, and how would you make sure supervisors are held accountable for the performance and conduct of the people under them?
One of the benefits of being at the sheriff's office for as long as I've been there, I know the people. And the strength of the sheriff's office is always going to be the people. And I think it's very important for a leader to know what he knows, but also know what he doesn't know. And that's why it's so important to have those good people around you that you can lean on, that you can trust, that are going to be those leaders that hold everybody accountable. Because it does start with the sheriff, and the sheriff is the one that will hold everyone accountable. But you also have to have a team. You also have to have those people in place that know the people, that know the job, that in and out from top to bottom, they know the responsibility, that are going to hold each other accountable. And that's one of the things that I think we've done a great job of at the sheriff's office, is putting people in positions to be successful. Because not everybody's made for every position. So when you find the person that is that right leader, that is that right supervisor, then not only does that individual benefit from it, but it's everybody underneath them, and then it becomes department-wide. You've got to have that circle in place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we'll stay with you for this next question. Drug enforcement remains one of the most visible responsibilities of the sheriff's office, especially involving fentanyl, methamphetamine, and repeat offenders. What should the sheriff's office be doing differently, if anything, to target major suppliers while also addressing addiction, treatment needs, and repeat low-level offenses?
Back in 2019, the sheriff's office did away with its traditional drug unit. Not because we quit caring about drugs, but it simply was no longer the most effective and efficient way to battle the drug problem. There's a couple of different ways that we can approach this, and for me, the key is very simple. We've got to figure out how to get ahead, because law enforcement is largely reactive. We need to become more proactive. The warrant division allows us to do a couple of those things. We can target high crime areas. We can take the burden of having to serve warrants off the patrol guys, which allows the patrol guys to be more proactive on the streets. If you've paid attention to the papers in the last couple of weeks, we've made trafficking cases from a patrol standpoint. We also have investigators that work those hand in hand with our patrol guys to be proactive. We've got to figure out, again, how to get ahead of the curve, because there are a lot of agencies that have traditional drug units, a lot of agencies around us that have traditional drug units. And what they also have are drug problems. The traditional drug unit is not the answer going forward. We've got to figure out how to get ahead of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whaley. And Mr. Creel, same question. Drug enforcement remains one of the most visible responsibilities of the Sheriff's Office, especially involving fentanyl, methamphetamine, and repeat offenders. What should the Sheriff's Office be doing differently, if anything, to target major suppliers while also addressing addiction, treatment needs, and repeat low-level offenses?
Reform a drug unit. If I had a better answer for that, I would give it to you, but there is not. There's not a better answer for that. I do this every day. I work these felony cases, thefts, robberies, everything. And if I didn't have, not only do you work dope when you have a drug unit, you also have a network of informants. I have solved homicides, burglaries, all kind of crimes by calling my drug unit and saying, hey, find out who's doing this, find out who's doing that. Last year we had a homicide where our drug guys, informant, brought us the guy that did the shooting. So without that intelligence network, well, without a drug unit or an intelligence unit focused on the drugs and the high level of narcotics trafficking, you're not going to have that network. You got to. I mean, if we could wave our wand and dope go away, and we're never going to 100% get rid of drugs. Don't let anybody kid you. But we can put a dent in it, but you got to start. You got to start. And you can't just say, well, that's not working right now, so we'll try something else. No, it works. You got to have the right personnel. They have to be trained. They have to be experienced. There's some people in this room that can do it. They have the experience to do it. But they have to have the backing of the agency, and they have to have the blessing of the agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Creel, and we'll stay with you for this next question. The Sheriff's Office handles serious cases involving violent crime, theft, domestic violence, child exploitation, missing persons, and crimes against vulnerable victims. How would you set investigative priorities while making sure victims and families receive timely communication?
So if I'm elected under my administration, no victim will be less than the other victim. I don't care what your social status is. I don't care your race, color, creed, any of that. If you're a victim, you're a victim, and you'll be treated as a victim. But at the same token, if you're a criminal, I'm coming after you just as hard as I would. I don't care if you're a CEO or a ditch digger, I'm gonna come after you. So you have to equally apply that across the board for the citizens of Cullman County. One of the things that will improve our ability to help victims will be the internet crimes against children. We have to have a task force. We have to have a task force person for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whaley, same question. The Sheriff's Office handles serious cases involving violent crimes, theft, domestic violence, child exploitation, missing persons, and crimes against vulnerable victims. How would you set investigative priorities while making sure victims and families receive timely communication?
Communication is the key, not only for the victims, but also for our investigators. That's one of the things that we've got established now at the Sheriff's Office. We have investigators that work collaboratively. They all work together, so we have guys that are working property crimes and drugs and thefts, and we have two devoted investigators that work basically sexual crimes. And the key to that is that oftentimes these cases are related. So by all of these investigators collaboratively working together, we oftentimes are able to solve multiple crimes. From the standpoint of a communication with the public, the biggest thing is our victims are just that. They're victims looking for justice. And in law enforcement, it's real easy to get stuck in a rut of, I've got to get to the next call, I've got to get to the next case, because we are overworked a lot of times. And the way that I always have taught to, especially the young guys, when I've been involved in their training, you should treat every case as if it was your mom. Because if it was your mom, then you would put everything you had into that case in order to solve it. And that should be the approach, is that every victim matters, because if we're there, it's probably the victim's worst day. And we want to make sure that we can do everything we can to make that worst day not quite so bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whaley, and we'll stay with you for this next question. The county jail is one of the sheriff's most serious responsibilities. How would you approach jail safety, inmate medical needs, staffing shortages, contraband prevention, and the treatment of people who have not been convicted but are awaiting trial?
The jail itself it's a very unique place to work, and it's also one of the most important places when it comes to the sheriff's office. It's a huge responsibility. We average roughly 430 inmates a day, so it is a huge undertaking. And to kind of echo what I just said about a person's bad day, if someone's in jail, the easiest way to get through that day as a deputy is to treat everybody with respect. Because if you treat everybody with respect, you have a much better chance of being respected back. And that's one of the most important things, is show respect to get respect. And if you do that, you lessen the likelihood of having to fight somebody, of being in danger. It helps all those elements. As far as the other parts of this, it really goes back to training. You want to make sure that the deputies that are working in that jail, number one, have the equipment that they need. Number two, they have the training that they need. We've got a lot of young guys and girls that go in that are inexperienced, and so we have FTO programs. We have training protocols that we put them through to give them the tools that they need to be successful in that setting. And it is very important that they receive those tools in a timely manner, and that the supervisors ensure not only are they getting the training, but they're implementing the training that they've received as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Creel, same question. The county jail is one of the sheriff's most serious responsibilities. How would you approach jail safety, inmate medical needs, staffing shortages, contraband prevention, and the treatment of people who have not been convicted but are awaiting trial?
As I said earlier, when you get to a point where you can cut some of the fat at the top, you can pay those jailers more. That's why you have a hard time recruiting jail staff. You got to be able to recruit better, well, higher paying jail staff, more desirable people, I guess. People with a little more experience in the real world. The other thing is, you can't let the clowns run the circus, for one. I'm speaking for other jails. I've worked around, never had to work in a jail, but I've worked around several jails. And I can tell you, there's some jails that are ran good and some that are not. The ones that are ran not so good, the inmates are running the place, basically. You can't have that. You got to be stricter on them. For one, you have to feed them, you have to house them, you have to provide medical care, make sure they don't kill each other, make sure the guards don't abuse them, and you got to feed them properly. You got to feed them properly, but they don't have to have all these. I mean, you need to shake them down all the time, make sure they don't get drugs in the jail and shivs and everything else. And you just got to be firm but fair.
Thank you, sir, for your response, and we'll stay with you for this next question. School resource officers have become a major part of public safety in Cullman County. What should the role of an SRO be inside a school, and where do you draw the line between school discipline, student relationships, and law enforcement involvement?
I would draw the line if it's a crime. If it's on the code, if it's a code that says that that's a crime and you can charge them with it, and you really need to charge them with it, maybe, in juvenile court, especially if it's a felony crime, then you draw the line. Otherwise, you let the school do their administrative, whatever they do. As far as training for SROs, I think for Cullman County, they should all be SWAT certified. And that's a mindset thing as much as it is a mechanics of going through the motion thing. If I can tell you, if stuff bad happens, a SWAT trained SRO guy that maintains his training will go toward the threat. You can look at across the nation at the unfortunate school shootings we've had, and you can see the difference, the different responses of different agencies. And if you pick it apart, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's some agencies that wait, they wait for backup, they wait for this, they wait for that, and then, I mean, no fault of their own really, it's just they don't know any better. And then people die. And then you see like Nashville when they went straight and shot the guy or whatever he was. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. Mr. Whaley, same question. School resource officers have become a major part of public safety in Cullman County. What should the role of an SRO be inside a school, and where do you draw the line between school discipline, student relationships, and law enforcement involvement?
I was very fortunate to spend right at 12 years of my career as a school resource officer. And the role of a resource officer in the schools is very, very in-depth, because you are more than a security guard. You are more than just a police officer. You become part of that community. You become part of those kids' lives. You become part of the teacher and the teachers' lives, the faculty. You become part of that community, unlike any other law enforcement officer that's with the sheriff's office. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to establish and build relationships that are vastly important moving forward. Because you have these kids, if you're able to stay in a school long enough, you have the same students year after year after year. So what happens is you build a rapport and you build trust. So when bad things happen, or drugs are on campus, or bullying's going on, or a theft occurs, well, obviously you're going to work all of those because you are the law enforcement that's there. But what happens are the students, they come to you because they know you, they trust you, and you become part of their lives as a representative of the sheriff's office. And the great thing about that is it doesn't stop when the bell rings. You actually go beyond the school. I still have parents and students that call me when they have questions and problems. And I've been out of the schools for over 6 years, because that's the kind of relationships that good resource officers build. And that's what makes it so important to have good guys in the school, to have the ones that get integrated with the students, that get integrated with the schools. You become part of that school, part of those students' lives, and it makes a difference, not just 8 to 3. It makes a difference for lifetimes. And going forward, that school resource officer program is what really is going to help make a difference in Cullman County, especially for years and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whaley, and we'll stay with you for this next question. It's kind of long, so if you need me to repeat any part, just let me know. The Cullman County Sheriff's Office and jail make up one of the largest portions of county government spending, with CCSO receiving a major share of the county budget. At the same time, some towns and municipalities pay additional money, in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars or more, for sheriff's office patrol and jail-related services, even though those residents also live inside Cullman County. How would you explain to taxpayers what the base county budget covers, what municipal contracts cover, and how would you make sure those costs are fair, transparent, and not duplicative?
Well, obviously, one of the most important things and biggest things that the sheriff has to manage is the budget. If you're not a good steward of the citizens' money, then it's going to be very, very difficult to be successful. The way it's currently set up, the budget that the county commission allots for the sheriff's office, it covers basically salaries and building maintenance. The other things that the sheriff's office furnishes or that the sheriff's office needs, it's covered through discretionary funds, whether that's the special needs funds or the special projects funds rather, which is the rodeo. You have the work release, you have federal and state inmates, that income comes into the sheriff's office and the county commission through that. So there's multiple discretionary funds that allows us to do other things like that. As far as the municipalities go, the reason that these cities, these townships have decided to do this is for extra. They are provided extra security, extra patrols by allotting that money and providing an additional deputy. That's exactly what they get. They have a deputy that remains within their city limits. So if there is a call, Good Hope is an example. That has its own district or its own township deputy. They don't have to wait for a district car to come because they have that township deputy that's already there, so it lowers response times. So what the citizens of Good Hope, they are receiving more coverage because they are spending more money, and that's just the bottom line of it. And working with the cities, the townships, it's a win-win situation because we're putting more deputies on patrol, more deputies on the streets, and the citizens of those towns are getting just that: better response time, better coverage, better patrol. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. Mr. Creel, same question. If you need me to repeat any part, just let me know.
I don't have visibility of those numbers because I don't work there. I don't know I know what the budget is. It was, I think this year, they're operating off of $19 million from the general fund. I don't have visibility on the special account funds and stuff right now. But I will say this: if you provide a town deputy program, it should be full service. It should be everything that you would expect to get with a police department. For instance, I think they're working on a deal now for Hanceville's town deputy program. It should be full service though. You shouldn't have to wait an hour and a half for a trooper at 2 in the morning for a minor traffic crash. Deputies can knock that out in a few minutes. It should be full service. They should be working traffic if they're going to be a town deputy program. So just some tweaks like that is different what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your response. And we will stay with you for this next question. Public trust depends on accountability. How would you handle complaints against deputies, detention officers, or staff, and what information should be available to the public while still protecting due process, personnel laws, and active investigations?
You can be, as a sheriff in a sheriff's office, you can be transparent to a certain point. When it becomes, when it would hinder an ongoing investigation or cause a security risk for an operation, then obviously you can't tell the public everything. But the more transparent you are, the quicker you can release body cam footage on incidents, the better. That will squash some of the public outcry in a lot of cases. When I was a district chief here, we actually, we were having some complaints, and I was the West Side chief at the sheriff's office, and I came up with my own policy that if someone wanted to complain on one of my deputies, they would come in and talk to me, and we would write out a formal complaint. But it was an incident report. But you in law enforcement know if we investigate that and you file a false report, then hey, that's a misdemeanor charge. And I explained it to them, not trying to suppress them to file a report, but I explained it to them. We're going to watch the body cam, we're going to interview people. You can't automatically take the public side. You want to believe them, but you also can't automatically take the employee's side. But I would say 99 times out of 100, it's not what you're hearing is the truth from the public completely. They have a bias at some point. But body cam footage, interviews, and past performances of that deputy will tell you a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Whaley, same question to you. Public trust depends on accountability. How would you handle complaints against deputies, detention officers, or staff, and what information should be available to the public while still protecting due process, personnel laws, and active investigations?
Law enforcement is always going to be held to a higher standard, and I think we should be. If we're going to uphold the law, then we ourselves should make sure that we're doing the same thing. Public trust is the key in that entire question, and I think that's where having a great relationship with the community as a whole, to where the citizens of Cullman County put their trust in us, where they trust when we come out with information. And it's two-sided, because we do need to make sure that we are sharing as much as we can. And then the public needs to trust that we are sharing as much as we can. If there's an active investigation ongoing, then we're not going to be able to share all the details. If there is information that we either don't have or currently can't share, hopefully we can say that and the public believes us, and we can go from there. But it's always important to make sure that we hold ourselves, that the sheriff's office holds itself accountable to where if we do something wrong, then we're going to own it, we're going to live up to it, and there's going to be consequences for those actions. And then again, the citizens need to understand that we're on their side as well. We're not trying to trick anybody, we're not withholding information, we're not trying to cover anything up. We are doing our due diligence. We are going to hold ourselves accountable. Sometimes that takes time, and sometimes the complaints, they're foundless. There's nothing to it, and when we find that, we also need to share that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whaley, for that answer, and we will stay with you for this next question. The sheriff's office often works with police departments, state agencies, federal agencies, the district attorney, courts, schools, fire departments, and emergency management. How would you build those partnerships while making sure the sheriff's office remains independent, transparent, and accountable to Cullman County voters?
Cullman County should always be the first priority. Our job is to protect and serve the citizens of Cullman County, first and foremost. I'm not opposed to having guys on task force if it benefits Cullman County, but not at the expense of Cullman County. If it's going to pull them out of the county to try to work other cases where victims outside the county are being helped, I would love to help every victim across the state, across the country. However, my priority as the sheriff will always be the victims of Cullman County. And as far as the collaboration, the relationships that we have, Cullman County has never had a better relationship with surrounding agencies from a state level to a local level than we do right now, and that's something I'm very proud of, and I think that's a credit to all the men and women who wear the uniform for the sheriff's office, including the sheriff himself. We've done a really good job in the last several years of building and establishing those relationships, because it does take a collaboration. There are times when you're going to need the fire department, the police department, state agencies, whatever it may be, to again ensure that we're serving the citizens of Cullman County first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Creel, same question. The sheriff's office often works with police departments, state agencies, federal agencies, the district attorney, courts, schools, fire departments, and emergency management. How would you build those partnerships while making sure the sheriff's office remains independent, transparent, and accountable to Cullman County voters?
The same way I'm doing every day. I do that now. I've got a work phone that she's got it right now. You still got it? Did you lose it? Okay. I got a work phone that's probably got 300 contacts in it, from Tennessee TBI guys to Tennessee local sheriff's office guys, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, all over Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, you name it. My fire department guys that I work with over there, EMS people, judges, attorneys. Networking's what it's about in law enforcement. And I've been doing this for so long that every time I get a new phone, I transfer all that stuff over, and I might go for 5 or 6 years and need something in Atlanta. And I got a person at GBI that I can call up and say, hey, can you help me? And that's how you got to build those relationships. What was the other part of the question?
While building those partnerships, how do you make sure the sheriff's office remains independent, transparent, and accountable?
About helping Cullman County residents, don't be naive and think that just because there's a county line that stuff don't spill over back and forth. It does. So as far as task force officers go, you may be working something in New Orleans that directly affects Cullman County. So you can't look at it like, well, we're in a box here. We're not. We have the same problems that every other demographic similar to us have. The difference is we may not have the raw numbers like Madison County or Montgomery or Jefferson County just because of the population, but we have the same problems. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and we'll stay with you for our final question. This office carries responsibility for public safety, jail operations, deputy leadership, school safety, investigations, public money, constitutional rights, and the trust of Cullman County residents. Based on your record, judgment, and leadership style, why should voters trust you to serve as Cullman County Sheriff?
I think to be a good leader, you have to know your limitations. You also have to know your capabilities. And how you're tested on those is multifaceted. It's a bunch of ways. I'm asking for your trust next Tuesday to be your sheriff because I've spent my entire adult life doing this job in the field, working the cases, working narcotics. I was a patrol lieutenant or sergeant, lieutenant in 2 different sheriff's offices. I was a captain over major crimes investigations at a sheriff's office, SWAT team leader. I was an infantry squad leader, ran 51 combat missions. So I've been tested in that. And I know what works, and I know what don't work. I've been criticized by a couple people for working at different places. It opened my eyes up and gave me a different perspective. I can tell you there's agencies that do certain things good, and there's agencies that do other things not so good. I can bring the good back to Cullman, and that's my goal.
Thank you, sir, for your answer. And Mr. Whaley, last question. This office carries responsibility for public safety, jail operations, deputy leadership, school safety, investigations, public money, constitutional rights, and the trust of Cullman County residents. Based on your record, judgment, and leadership style, why should voters trust you to serve as Cullman County Sheriff?
For over 27 years, I've been at the Cullman County Sheriff's Office. And it's my opinion, and it may be biased, the Cullman County Sheriff's Office is the best sheriff's office in the state. I've worked virtually every facet of the office. I know every in, I know every out. More importantly, I know every person that wears that uniform. And what makes Cullman County Sheriff's Office so great is just that. It's the people that work there. It's the relationships that we've built. It's what we've done to establish not just the sheriff's office, but the trust that the community has in us. And going forward, I'm going to take what's working. I'm going to take what we've done so well, and I'm going to make it better. 27 years, I've been preparing for this, whether I realized it or not. I've gone through every door that led me right here, and the next step is just that, is as the sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you both. Now for our closing statement. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for a closing statement and must be spoken without notes. Mr. Whaley, you will go first on the closing statements.
Throughout this process, and I'll leave it at that, it's been a process. As it gets closer to Election Day, I've really focused on why. Why am I running for sheriff? And it's selfish, I'll admit it. I want Cullman County to stay special, and it is. If you drive 30 minutes north of here, 30 minutes south of here, it's a totally different world. I have 3 sons, Lord willing, they will grow up here, maybe even have grandkids one day. And it's my goal to make sure that my kids grow up in that same place, that same special Cullman County that I grew up in. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that it stays that way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Creel, you have 90 seconds for your closing statement.
Well, Chad, I agree with that. I grew up in Cullman County too, and I remember not locking the doors, keeping it lit. The keys would be in the cars, and we didn't think anything about it. But we have the same problems now that everybody does. I know you can drive 30 minutes north and south. We still have the same problems though. I want to keep the citizens safe, and I want to provide full service to them. And I want to treat the sheriff's office employees, even the lowest ones, just starting, brand new rookies, to let them know that they matter. Everybody there matters. When you take that oath and pin that badge on, you matter. That's what I want. That's the message I want to put out today. Is everybody at that sheriff's office, everybody at every sheriff's office, but especially at Cullman County Sheriff's Office, you deputies, you matter. You matter to me and your families. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Whaley. Thank you, Mr. Creel. That concludes this portion of the 2026 Tribune Debate Series. We'd like to thank both of our candidates, Mr. Creel and Mr. Whaley, for being here tonight and for giving voters the opportunity to hear directly from each of you. Thank you to everyone who attended in person, everyone watching online, and everyone who continues to take part in the local election process. An informed public makes for a stronger county, and these conversations matter. We also want to thank Wallace State Community College for hosting us here at the Bailey Center Auditorium, and thank Dr. Vicki Karlowicz and the Wallace State team for their hospitality and support. The Tribune will continue working to give voters access to candidates, clear information, and meaningful public conversation throughout this election cycle. Thank you for being here, and have a good evening, and don't forget to vote on the 19th.
Appreciate it. Good job, Chad.
Appreciate it. That was good.
We have these.
I don't think Wallace limited.